Brilliant. Thanks a million, James. Okay, so happy to be here today to talk to you about leading through economic uncertainty, which is a lot of fun, as we all know. So what can we do about it? So challenging environment, same revenue expectations. This is clearly one of the joys we have as revenue leaders. The macro climate may have changed, but the plan is the plan is the plan is the plan, and it's our job to hit it. So what are we talking about when we're saying challenging environment? So first of all, I think, the word once upon a time on everyone's lips was Brexit. And then along came COVID. And now we have the wonderful combination of COVID and Brexit, and we're dealing with the repercussions of both continuously, and it's complicated. So from speaking to many of you, I know that you're thinking about, okay, how can we, what do we do about return to office? Is it hybrid? Is it remote? Like, what's the best strategy? And there's clearly no easy answer. And then, of course, we were talking about what seems like just yesterday, the Great Resignation. And now fast forward and almost overnight, it feels like, okay, now we're seeing hiring freezes and even, unfortunately, layoffs. And then finally, of course, there's the devastating war in Ukraine, which serves as a daily reminder to all of us as to what is truly important. And so it's fair to say that there's a lot to be nervous about. But this is the moment to bring in Ryan Reynolds, always a good moment to bring in Ryan Reynolds. Any kind of crisis can be good because it wakes you up. So while there are reasons to be nervous, there are also reasons to be optimistic. But before I go into them, I think one thing to be aware of, there was a study done by Harvard looking at growth leaders going into the last 3 recessions. And of those, it showed that a whopping 85% of them were toppled when times got tough. Essentially, it was because they set the strategies for good times, but they failed to pivot and adapt when times got tough. And so this is an opportunity for people, and you should be looking at through the lens of opportunity. And it's fair to say, and to quote another person, American gymnast Gabby Douglas, when hard times are the best, because that's when champions are made. And so ask yourselves, are you looking at these times through the climate of opportunity? Because it truly is a time of opportunity for people. So let's jump into the levers. 5 levers here: positioning, motivation, sales skills, rep efficiency, and forecast reality. So we'll jump straight in. Positioning. Positioning is everything. What are we talking about? Okay. So it is very likely that the conversations that your reps are having on the front line have changed. Your customers' needs and expectations have more than likely shifted with the macro climate. So the question is, do you understand what the implications of this are for your business? And do you truly understand how the conversations have changed on the front lines? Because it's very likely with this changing climate that your reps on the front lines are coming up against objections that they've never heard before. And so something like a revenue intelligence platform can actually give you visibility into what's happening there and help you understand how you need to change your messaging, how you need to adapt to resonate in this new climate. And so an example of how we've done this at Gong is one of our use cases is around hiring and onboarding and ramping really quickly. But as people's the climate shifts from hiring to doing more with less, we've had to change our messaging on the front lines as well. So we know from hearing our frontline conversations that this is the way the world has gone. And so we have tweaked our messaging accordingly, and we're able to hear feedback in real time from our customers as to how it's landing. Okay, so next slide. So motivate your existing sales talent, number 2. So we've all been part of the war for talent amidst the Great Resignation. And we know that motivations vary across different generations. So with Generation X, it was all about autonomy. Then the millennials came along and they wanted to focus on development and when were they getting their next promotion. And now we have Gen Z. And for Gen Z, it is all about doing purposeful work. They want to know that they are doing meaningful work. But just to keep things interesting, they'd like to do this meaningful work from a yacht off the coast in Ibiza. So it's fair to say that the world's got a little bit more complex for companies, and it really is a case of adapt or die. And we issued a report back in January on having interviewed over 300 sales reps. And of those, a whopping 45% of them had actually engaged in conversations with external opportunities, external career opportunities in the prior 6 months. So almost half of them. And we asked them, what is their number one challenge? They said it's difficulty to stay motivated. So the question is, how do you keep them motivated? So this is how they answered. This is what they said their 5 key drivers of sales motivation were. And this is in order, their order, not mine. Money, mental health, mission, manager, and mobility. Let this be the only slide where you see money above mental health in terms of priorities, but it is the reality of how they answered. So obviously money is self-explanatory. Mental health. At Gong, we give people 2 days at the beginning of every quarter where the entire company shuts down. Now, this isn't always possible everywhere, but it's something to think about. What do you have within your control to help prioritize your team's mental health? And I think it's something as basic as in the evenings, leave them alone. It's their evenings. Weekends, the same. Holidays, the same. I always make a big song and dance when I go on holidays, put my palm tree on Slack and delete email and delete Slack and tell everyone I've forgotten the word gong, because it's important that you lead by example here. Mission, self-explanatory. Manager, some of the best advice I ever got was choose a boss, not a job. And mobility, make sure you're setting aside time for career conversations with your reps. It's really important that they know that you're invested in them staying with your business and moving up within your business. Number 3, sharpen your team's sales skills. So as I said, we've all been focused on ramping and hiring as efficiently as possible and ramping people as quickly as possible throughout the last couple of years. But what happens to your people strategy when hiring freezes come in, or even, heaven forbid, layoffs? It means you have to do more with the same resources or even less resources. And so it's all about getting the most out of your current people. But this stat from CSO Insights shows us that 57% of sales reps miss quota every single quarter. So what can you do about it? Well, we know that frontline manager coaching is one of the biggest levers that you can pull to move this number. But also frontline leaders are the busiest in the business. So as you sit here, ask yourself, do you have any idea how your frontline managers are spending their time? And this is where technology can help. The way I use Gong is I have access to see how my managers are spending their time in terms of how many calls are they listening to? How many calls are they coaching on? Are they coaching on just negotiation calls, or are they looking at discovery calls as well? But even a bigger part of this is it's all about democratizing the information about what the top sales reps are doing differently. I think one of the biggest drains on leaders and one of the biggest mistakes leaders make is spending too much time with the bottom performers and not enough time with the middle of the pack. What if this democratization of information, where middle of the pack sales reps have access to what the top sales reps are doing differently, truly doing differently, and access to their calls? What could the implications be for your business? Even if you move the middle of the pack just a couple of percent, it could have huge ramifications for your revenue. So again, it's all about upskilling your top reps, but your middle of the pack reps, and doing more with less resources, and technology can help. Okay, number 4, proving rep efficiency. This is the stat that most curdles my blood. Forrester surveyed 28,000 sales reps and found that 23% of their time is spent actually selling. It is horrifying, but I think if we look deep inside, we know it's not entirely wrong. So we're spending tens of thousands of pounds paying our sales reps and they're not actually selling. So what are they doing if they're not selling? Well, and again, according to Forbes, one of the studies, that the things that they most dislike is updating the CRM. So I would say if you ever meet a rep that enjoys updating CRM, please do let me know, because I believe that they're unicorns. So reps are spending time updating CRMs, but here's the point. They hate this, so they don't do a very good job of it. And we know that on an average of a 6,000 word conversation between your sales reps and your prospects, about 30 of those words makes it into the CRM. That's if they make them in there at all. And those 30 words, we've all heard the term happy ears, are subjective. Those are what the sales rep thinks just happened in the conversation. And let's think about the implications of this in the context of the Great Resignation. We all know how much turnover there's been in businesses in the last couple of years. And basically, if the data isn't in your CRM and you've lost God knows how many of your staff over the last couple of years and turned over staff, which we all have, like, think about the brain drain on your company with all of that valuable information walking out the door. And so how we solve this at Gong is our system works autonomously to capture all email, phone conversations, and web conference in our system, so our reps do not have to spend time manually updating the CRM. We are always in search of trying to raise this 23% number. And another way we're doing this is we've just launched a product called Gong Assist. It's in beta currently. And Gong Assist works in the way that it basically listens and looks at conversations between reps and prospects. And we often, with a conversation between a rep and a prospect, the rep will say, I'm going to send you a follow-up email highlighting what we spoke about. I'll share our pricing sheet, I'll share our customer reference. There's normally 2 or 3 follow-ups. And so our artificial intelligence understands what was just said in this conversation and auto-populates an email for the rep to be able to send immediately after the call. Just think about how powerful that is. 77% of your rep's time is spent not selling. So how can you get that number down? And how can you get the 23% number up? Artificial intelligence can help. And finally, forecast reality. Okay, forecasting is never easy, but what is clear is that it is very hard in this current climate when everything is shifting quickly. So how can we change this? What can we do about it? Well, we have just announced a macroeconomic tracker, which is something that I personally use. And the way this works is that if there is a conversation between one of my reps and a prospect or something that's in pipeline, I will get an alert if the words budget freeze, layoffs, hiring cuts, tech stack consolidation, any of those danger terms, if any of those terms come up, I will get alerted to the fact that all of a sudden there's a deal in my pipeline that is now at risk. So as I sit here today, I know that 30% of my deals that are in commit or most likely for this quarter in my forecast, 30% of them have a macroeconomic risk associated with them. I know that there's many Gong customers on the line, and this is available to all of you free of charge. So please make sure you're using it. And to anyone who isn't a Gong customer, well, feel free to join us, because I tell you, it makes me a lot more gives me a lot more comfort knowing that I'm at least aware of what risk is in my pipeline, and I'm not running my sales teams blind. And the other thing about this is we have just recently, in the last couple of weeks, announced our new forecast product. And so when we're talking about forecast, there's a million different forecasting products out there. So what's the difference? We are the only forecast product based on reality. And this is why, this is how it works. Every other forecasting platform out there is based on data in the CRM. And we have already spoken about the problem with data in the CRM. Remember, 6,000 words in a conversation, 30 subjective words make it into the CRM, if they make it in at all. And so the way this works in practice is if I have a $100,000 deal in my commit for this quarter, and if my rep suddenly gets an email from that prospect and the prospect says, I'm really sorry, but we've had a budget freeze, we'll have to revisit this again in Q4. Straight away, my system alerts me to the fact that there is a budget freeze in a deal that is in commit in my pipeline. And so I know that that deal has now fallen out of my pipeline and I need to backfill that 100K. In every single other forecasting platform out there, they go, yay, we've just got an email from the prospect. The chance of this deal closing is ever higher. But that's not the case. We are the only platform that understands the context of the conversation. So if you are running your business not based on reality, ask yourself why, because there has to be a better way. And there is. Revenue intelligence is a comprehensive approach to data gathering and analysis that captures every customer interaction, understands what was said in those interactions, and delivers insights at scale, thereby empowering revenue teams to make decisions based on data instead of opinion. It is evolving quickly. So it started back in 2016 with conversation intelligence. This is all about capturing the data, knowing what customers are saying, knowing what customers are writing, capturing, having a full view of that data. Then move quickly into acting on the data. There's no point in having all this data and transcripts if you don't know what to do with it. So how do you act on this? And what are the actionable insights you can pull out? And the future is now. The future is automation. Think of that product I spoke about called Gong Assist, where your rep gets off a call with a customer, having promised to send a follow-up email, and that email auto-populates for you. Think about the power of that. Another example of that is if a rep sends a prospect an email and gets an out of office, our system, Gong Assist, will alert you when that prospect is back in the office to make reps ever more efficient and to increase the time that they're only spending 23% of their time actually selling. Finally, how does it work? We capture all of the interactions across phone, web conference, email. We have over 100 different integrations. We integrate with your CRM, and we use artificial intelligence and machine learning to pull out insights into 3 key areas. Deals address the risk in your pipeline before it is too late. As you sit here today, how many of you understand what the macroeconomic risk in your pipeline really is? How many of you know which of your deals are likely to churn? Teams, what are your top sales reps doing differently? And imagine if the middle of the pack reps had access to that information, what could the implications be for them and your revenue? And finally, markets. What is the true voice of your customer? What is your customer saying to your reps on the front line right now? And what are they saying about a new product you launched? Or what are they saying about your competitors? So Gartner says by 2025, 70% of all B2B seller-buyer interactions will be recorded to extract competitive, deal, and market insights using artificial intelligence and machine learning and natural language processing. So if you aren't already using artificial intelligence or revenue intelligence platform like Gong, ask yourself why. Because the future is now. You no longer need to run your businesses blind. Remember, in hard times, champions are made. And this is a time of great opportunity when the climate shifts. So make sure you are leveraging all of the great platforms at your disposal. If you're interested in learning more, please connect to me on LinkedIn, it's Wendy Harris, or go to gong.io/demo to get more details. Thank you very much.